my gosh, I finally got some flower vases for the flowers that the parents gave me on the first day of school, so I'm gonna set them around the room. This morning we practiced reading CVC words and writing it too, and then we transitioned to the silent E, or they call it magic E at this school. I'm really working on getting everyone to participate while we're learning, so even if they're done practicing to blend it quickly, I still have them like redo it until I tell everyone to come together. It's so funny because one of the words was jog. I was helping this one student try to sound it out like j, ah, g. Like, let's try it a little faster. J, ah, g, j, ah, g, j, ah, g. And then she was like, Optimus. Every week during recess, the kids have different zones that they play in, so going over those expectations before recess, we have to do a classroom behavior matrix. So we went over how to be responsible, respectful, and safe inside of the classroom. We practiced counting to 100 again and starting at random numbers, and then worked on adding within the number 10. I introduced this thing that the other first grade teacher gave me the idea of, where it's modeling mode and the students have to fold their hands and keep their eyes on the screen while I'm modeling how to solve a problem. At times it's hard to keep their attention throughout the entire lesson, even if it's modeling, us practicing together, and then them doing it by themselves. And I'm pushing it in their heads that we always try our best and we never give up. We say those words every single day. They're at lunch right now. After lunch, I'm going to do a read aloud, if I can even find it. Otis, and then we're going to talk about setting, character, problem, solution. It's a lot of information at once. I'm not expecting them to understand everything right now, but the goal is for them to like pay attention to key details and learn how to participate with sharing with shoulder partners, and then following what's on the screen too. So if I write something, I'm expecting them to write it on their paper. I just realized that I never even put up the schedule of what I'm doing, but we haven't started like a consistent schedule, so this might be an extra thing to do, so maybe I won't do it until next week. There is just not enough time in the day for a teacher, because even when I have my schedule, I don't go through everything that I plan. There's always more papers coming in that you have to look over. Like their first day packet, I had to look through each student's and figure out what they needed to correct. I'm not even done with that yet. We have to make sure that each kid has an absence note every time they come back from being absent. Oh, I need to go. I wanted them to practice writing sentences, so I printed out this thing called Scoops, and I wanted them to write like the setting is, the characters are, get used to having a capital, period, and then I kind of lost them a little bit, so I need to go over characters and settings in a more structured way, and probably make an anchor chart for that so that it's more visual. We also practiced making our own sentences, and I used these Mr. sketch markers for students who wanted to come up and show me their work. They really needed to work on following directions and seeing whatever's on my screen would go onto their paper. So I wrote all of these, circled some, underlined some in different colors, had them shade it yellow, green, pink, and see if they could just follow everything. And for those who really did follow along and have every single thing on their paper correct, I gave them a star with the Mr. Sketch marker. And of course, if they made a little mistake, then I would let them fix it. Overall, they did a really good job on that. I think some kids work a lot slower than others, so it's a lot of waiting and making sure that they're catching up. Oh, I forgot to mention the jobs. So we had paper passers today. I have an attendance person who moves little figures from present to absent. I had a sub come in for the last 15 minutes because I had to go to a meeting, and I told them to make sure that they're following directions and being good. And then the sub would either write a happy face or smiley face, and they got a happy face, so I will reward them tomorrow for that. Also, 2 of my students made it to the very top of the clip chart, which is star students, so I gave them a little sticker. I call this bling bling. I got this idea from a first grade teacher at my student teaching site, where they would get a bling bling. If they get 10, then they make it up on this vine, which I still need to buy, and then the students get to chase me around and clip it into my hair so that I can wear it all day. That's just a little incentive for them to keep doing their best. And now that the students know that that's a thing, hopefully they will be more motivated to get clipped up. This is how I'm teaching writing tomorrow. I got this idea from Mrs. Call's Campers. I literally just watched her video right now and then decided to make an anchor chart for tomorrow. For back to school night, I want them to have a writing sample so I can put up on the wall. It was very terrible. A teacher came in to check the students' fluency, and then at the same time, the principal came in. I guess the principal was checking up on every classroom, but I didn't know that, right? So the principal came in, we were working on writing. The principal was like interjecting a lot to model how to do more engagement, but then anytime there's a new person coming into the classroom, like even when I was working in ABA, the kids just act up. No participation. It seemed like there was no engagement. Like when I was trying to get them to write, I forgot to do a sentence frame. When they were writing, I didn't like break it down enough for them to keep writing, but then at the same time I wanted to assess how they could write already. I was so thrown off that I was 10 minutes late to lunch. The person working at lunch had to come in. Dude, I was about to make them skip the entire lunch because I was so thrown off. Lunch is at 11:10. I was about to make them go out at 11:40.
Oh my gosh. Did you set like an alarm, huh?
I need to set an alarm now.
Yeah.
Because I didn't realize like how thrown off I would be. I'm starting to lose them. Like lose their attention. Like they were so good this morning, and then like every teacher says that every morning is really good, and then after recess that's when they fall apart. But then they were so good this morning, and then the rest of the day was like me trying to pull on teeth to get them to do work. Like I have 2 kids who don't speak English, who don't know what we're doing, and I can't even communicate that to them. I need to ask for like an iPad for Google Translate. It just seems like they're so bored. I was like literally checking the time because I wanted to go home too, or not go home, but I needed time for myself and like to plan for tomorrow because today was just so bad. I'm just questioning a lot about how I can teach. It's so hard. Halfway through the day, I was like, this is only like the 5th day and I don't know how I'm gonna make it through the whole school year. But luckily, like another teacher who was in 2nd, she randomly came after school today and asked how I was doing. And then at first I was like, did I look sad while I was walking the kids out? But then she was just like checking up on me and the other 1st grade teacher who's new. I was like, not so good. And then she was just like, oh yeah, cry it out, because like 1st grade is the hardest grade, and she cried a lot in this classroom too. And then she was kind of like helping me out, have the kids know what they're doing when they walk in. I'm just waiting for us to start like teaching the standards so that we can have more of a schedule set in place, so there's more routine. And then she had me come to her classroom to get some resources. She was just like reassuring me that like, yeah, just remember that the other 1st grade teachers have a lot more experience. Yeah. Like even the other new 1st grade teacher was a teacher before, so she was just like, don't worry, like you'll do great. Like by December you'll get the hang of it. December. December.
It's gonna come sooner than you think to be. You definitely looked like you're very tired or overwhelmed.
That's just from today. That's not even the sleep. That was just today. The morning was so good. There were times in my lesson where I was like, oh my god, this is so boring. I don't know how to consistently engage them. The teacher that just came in, she's in 2nd grade right now, but she used to teach 1st. She's like, yeah, engagement is hard, but like it's school. School's not always fun. I'm starting to implement more structure into my days. When the kids walk in, they started reading like high frequency words and only repeating these first 3 words over and over and over again. Afterwards, we started working on our fluency builders like b, at, bat. They kept repeating it for all the words and over and over and over again. Afterwards, we read it as one word and it was just a lot of repetition. Then we started working on onset rhymes, so ats, app, and add. I got all of these ideas from the other teachers because yesterday was a really hard day for me in terms of thinking that my planning wasn't as well thought out. It's a lot of repetition and they do have a hard time focusing for an entire duration. I've been doing a lot more of incentives like whole class, making sure that I'm telling students to clip up. We even had one reach the star student, which is the top. Also remembering to do table points and not just giving it at the end, like if a table is giving me their attention, then not just saying, hey, the red table, good job, and it's like consistently waiting and giving more points. I don't know if that made sense, but it's working. Keep losing my clipboard. We're going to work on tally marks for math. There's 2 curriculum books that my school uses. I was recommended to use one of them, but then other teachers are recommending me to use another, so I'm not sure which one I'm going to use it yet. I need to figure that out tonight because back to school night is tomorrow and I need to get that situated. Am I late? Thank goodness there's bells now because I would have been late to recess today. It was such a good day today and the complete opposite of what yesterday was. I feel like this is the thing about teaching is that one day you can have the absolute worst teaching day and then the next day will just rejuvenate you. We worked on tally marks today, so it was knowing that 1 is 1 tally mark and then 5 is 4 with 1 across. And they did a really good job with responding. The principal came in today during that too, and it seemed a lot better because she came in quickly and then just left. There was more engagement because the math problems was like how many sisters you have, how many brothers, but I did brothers as a whole class, so how many students have a brother, how many students have a sister, how many are an only child. We also did their age. Everyone followed along. We started watching a video about what is science. I was supposed to go over living and non-living things, but no time for it because it's a half day. Everything just got pushed back. Also with my behavior chart, there were 5 students who made it to the purple, so they got their bling bling and then they got to chase me around and put it in my hair. It's funny because when we were walking out, the custodian was like, you got something in your hair. I'm just gonna work on my back to school night slides because I have not started that and I don't have a clear system for homework yet, so gotta do that tonight and then so much work to do over the weekend, but taking it step by step, day by day. We had our new teacher meeting today after school. It's very overwhelming because as a new teacher, you are really learning every single thing. You're learning about the school procedures, you're learning about the school rules, you're learning about the school expectations on how to teach, how to plan, how to engage. It's a lot and it really does affect how I view myself as a teacher because I question if I'm enough. One of my kids is switching with another kid in a different class, so we'll see how that transition is. After my hard day yesterday, one of my students came in and gave me these flowers. It's so cute. Back to school nights tomorrow. These flowers are dying, so I might take out the dead ones, keep the good ones in so that the parent can see that it's still there, and then put this in there. I had 6 vases, but one of them broke. It is 7 p.m. and I have nothing ready for back to school night. I have sample PowerPoints from the other teachers, so it should not be too stressful. Well, no, I think it will be stressful, but I'm still planning for what I'm teaching tomorrow. I'm so exhausted and we have back to school night in 5-6 hours. I got a new kid in my class. He's been pretty good at picking up on the procedures. The mornings are always so good. Like they follow along, they work independently, they're all trying. They worked on fluency again. When we were practicing to write sentences, I chose a student and then I had them think, what should the student do? They decided like the student plays with her puppy. I wrote the sentence wrong and then they corrected me, found any mistakes I had, like not having a capital letter in the beginning, not having finger spaces, not having a period, and then they got so excited for that because all of them were like, I found it, I found it. After recess, that's when things just fall apart, like for the rest of the day. And today is a minimum day, so they got out at 11:48. Math was like not too bad. They just don't know how to count by 5s because we're learning tally marks, so I want them to be able to group it like 5, 10, and then continue, but they don't know how to skip count by 5s yet. But when they were working independently and trying to figure out the tally marks, they got it. Some of them not so much, but most of them got it. Science. I was teaching living and non-living things. Some parts they were very engaged, like when it was a non-living thing, they thought of like M&Ms, Sour Patch Kids, paper, and I explained to them like, is it alive? Do M&Ms eat food? They got really excited about that. One kid was hungry, so he got a little frustrated. Their attention for the rest of the lesson fell apart. I really need to move seats. I think table points makes it hard because you don't want to shuffle people around and then the students who don't earn it end up winning. This felt like a really long day. I feel like it's because I didn't get enough sleep. I slept at 1, woke up at 6, and I forgot to pass out something that's important for tomorrow. So now I have to message all the parents individually for students who earn this prize. I have my back to school night slides ready. Well, mostly ready. I don't know if I should add more information to it. I probably should, but I have so much stuff to catch up on. Like I need to send my schedule. I need to figure out how many minutes I'm teaching for each subject. It's so much to keep up with. And I have a planner, but at the same time, I question like, do I have everything in it? Like all the deadlines and stuff? I'm gonna eat because I did not even eat breakfast. I just realized that. And then get ready for back to school night and plan for tomorrow. I just survived my first back to school night presentation and that was intense, but I think it went really well. I did not even prepare like before this. I did my slideshows. I didn't really read through it because I stayed up last night just putting it together. Since I'm speaking the whole time, it did feel intense in the sense where it was quiet. Our teacher specialist came in, the principal came in. The principal said I did a really good job. It seems like the parents really like my classroom incentives because there's the star line, there's the duck jar, there's table points, there's paw bucks, which our school uses. It got really, really hot in here. Like, I am sweating. I need water. My mouth is dry. My hands had lotion on it, and so when I tried to use the expo, I couldn't open it, and then the cat fell and rolled over. When I checked the time for when I was done speaking, it felt like I would have had too much time for questions. But I had this idea where the parents would write a secret message to their student in a white crayon. We're going to use watercolor tomorrow to reveal the message. Hopefully it turns out okay. I mean, it should, right? When you put watercolor on wax. Some of the parents came up to me. One of them mentioned how I use the behavior chart and how the kids can chase me and clip it in my hair. And then the parent was like, "What are you talking about? Are you sure?" The child was like, "Yeah, she's crazy." They also went to go check out the iPhone goals with all of their kids' selfies in it, and they really enjoyed looking at that too. At times when I was explaining, it did feel like the parents were bored, but again, it's just information. Today, everything's so last minute with planning. Last night, I was only able to create the lesson plan, but nothing like within the classroom, like our chart or graphic organizer or whatever. But so far, it's a really good day. I just realized that I forgot to set up their art for today. I personally wrote a letter to those whose parents couldn't come so that they wouldn't feel like left out. I was supposed to put the paint together so that it would be ready. I have to go pick up the kids really soon too, so I don't think I can do it. Well, I'm gonna do it today, but I'll probably do it like while they're doing independent math time. It truly is a happy Friday today. We did our high frequency words right in the morning. They're not having the best time with it because it's very repetitive, but they need to know these words because there's going to be a test on it. Then we worked on reading a very short passage, like literally 4 sentences, but that's decoding. We read The Recess Queen and they really liked that. We talked about character, so Mean Jean and Katie Sue, and how they are as a character. They were very engaged with this one. After recess, we finished that. I had them work on penmanship while I was pulling small groups. I pulled small groups, so one that's really low in decoding and helping them sound out words. My high group, I tested their ability to spell. So instead of spelling snap, they spelled sap. And then I told them to really listen in on what sound is next. I was supposed to do writing, didn't get to it. We did math with tally marks again. I started to lose their attention a bit. Some of my kids are starting to show behaviors, like not wanting to do the work at all. Some of them don't speak English. So it wasn't even like not knowing what to do. It was more of defiance because they know how to do that math. So the ones who didn't work, I had them back at the table while the rest of us started art to copy another student's work, trying to teach like if you're not going to do work during work time, then you'll do it when it's our fun time. Eventually he got to do it. They used watercolor to reveal the message. Since we had a lot of extra time afterwards, I had them pull out the high frequency words list again. I got some complainers, so I had to make them reset. Put their heads down, show me what it looks like when you're learning in first grade, and then we practice as a whole class instead of letting them do it individually. It was a very good day. Probably part of it is because I feel like I'm on this high of like, since back to school night felt good, and we have a 3-day weekend, and I finally got sleep. All those factors probably play into a part of how I'm feeling. But this weekend I still have a lot of work to do and catch up on. I also got more flowers today, so I have a whole garden in the corner of my room. It is the cutest thing to look at when I walk in. This is so crazy to me. I didn't think I would get any more after the first day, but they just kept coming in and in. It was also so funny because at the end of the day, when I was releasing the students, one of my students looked really sad. And then I was like, oh, what's wrong? I thought it was because I went firm on them at the end of the day. But then she said, I wanted my mom to pick me up. And then I looked at the dad, and he's just smiling and saying, I know. That was pretty funny because as a parent, I would be so hurt